All right, team. So before I start telling on other people generally, it's time to start telling on myself specifically. That's right. I'm the type of leader that doesn't ask anyone to do something I'm not willing to do myself. And I've got some doozies for you. I'm going to be telling you some really hardcore, actually, stories about myself, but not today. Today, I'm going to warm up because, for one, I'm going to try to work this format. Like, I'm going to start by telling you the most judgmental thing, like the thing you're really going to judge me for right off the bat. I have needs improvement tattooed on my body. And then I'm going to ask that you stay with me as I tell you the context to see exactly how your judgment evolves and your perception of me, because it becomes a learning experience while I also get to truly humiliate myself online. Right? So, as a systemic change consultant, I know that you must know the truth before you can change anything. You can't innovate and correct it all until you know where you stand. So, back to that little fun nugget about me. I have needs improvement tattooed on my body. Have you ever heard of those Western idiots, that get a foreign language tattooed somewhere and they're like, that means peace. And then they discover, it means hot sauce, right? Yeah. Well, I had lived all around the world as a young kid, so I didn't think anything like that would happen to me. I'm way too classy and evolved. But life always has a way of showing me where I might have a blind spot, especially when it comes to my own need to be right. And so 20 years ago, I was going through a really hard time, and I did what any good person having a hard time in the West does. You find someone who's doing worse and work to rescue them. So I was, driving groceries to someone who was suffering and crashed my car, giving myself a wicked neck injury, something I really needed at the time, and landed me in an acupuncturist's office a couple times a week. And she had this sign on her wall that said, "Courage to Change," with a Chinese kanji. And I had started to study martial arts and Buddhism, and I discovered that in Eastern philosophical lore, if you got something tattooed on your body, especially if you could get it close to your noggin, it had great effect. So long before it was cool, that's right, Miss Emily got "Courage to Change," the Chinese kanji, tattooed on the back of her neck. Now, fast forward about 5 years or so, and I had gone from living in Colorado, I obviously never thought I'd be traveling to Asia, to living in South Florida, where suddenly it looked like I was going to be going to Asia. And in an odd turn of events, I had this awesome new hairstylist who was actually Chinese. And she was giving me some cool new hairdo because I was due to go to China. And as she's just cutting my hair, she shrieks, "Ah!" I was like, "Oh my God, what's happening? Like, do I have, a cancerous mole?" She's like, "Oh my God, why do you have needs improvement tattooed on the back of your neck?" So I was like, that was news to me. I was like, I don't know. Why do I? That doesn't mean needs improvement. That means courage to change. Well, it turns out that it was actually, in her province, a highly derogatory way to say needs improvement, not even a nice way. And she was actually really upset and a bit offended and genuinely upset with me. Thankfully, when I went to Asia, I discovered that depending on the province and the languaging and the way it works, it wasn't necessarily as offensive. But still, I could not believe that happened, right? And I beat myself up for a long time. And then I said, wait a minute. If you think about it, courage to change does have the connotation that you need improvement. And if I faced facts, I needed a ton of improvement when I got that tattoo. But what's really crazier is I started to get really rapid with my personal improvement after that. And I actually ended up working as a continuous improvement specialist. I'm incredibly good at it. I was actually filling out forms, continuous improvement plan. How weird is that? In Asia. And what a powerful place to stand when we can come into situations and be like, hey, this is great, but let's make it better. And so I ask you, was I always born to continuously improve? Did I come that way? Or because I got needs improvement tattooed on the back of my neck, did it become written into my being, biology, and brand in some wild way? We'll never know, let's be honest. But it's still absolutely ridiculous and worth sharing that Well, if you're going through a hard time, hey, get something tattooed close to your, no, don't, that's not the lesson. That's not the lesson. Don't get a neck tattoo, really. But it is a phenomenal perspective that has served me in my life of being able to, one, own it, laugh about it, make it funny, and make even your weirdest, deepest flaws something you can integrate to be something powerful for who you are, because you don't know why they're there, and often they are there to serve you and your mission and purpose in ways you can't imagine. That if we kept it hidden or didn't talk about it, we would never be able to share in the beauty of. And with that, I think that's round one done. Thanks for being here, and wish me luck with the next.